Hello, and welcome to this very spontaneous podcast episode. If you're tuning in over on YouTube, you'll be able to see that the production quality is not quite how it usually is. I am genuinely just sat in my leggings in a bit of a scruffy top. I'm pretty sure I've spilt my lunch down myself. But it's for good reason because I want to talk about something that I think is happening for a lot of us business owners right now. And as the podcast name suggests, I want to be the person to start these conversations and not just to talk about what's going on, but also offer up some maybe practical and helpful insights. This episode was born in terms of an idea about half an hour ago. When I tell you that this is probably the most off the cuff and quick moving a reactive episode has been, I'm not exaggerating. But as you'll have seen from the title, I want to talk about Instagram. And more specifically, I'm going to break my 10-year silence on talking about the algorithm. Now, I have felt very passionately for a long time that thinking about, talking about, focusing on, moaning about, whatever it might be, the algorithm is a genuine sad use of your energy and time. Over the years, I've seen many people talk about this and been like, what's the point? I literally wrote a whole chapter in my book, The Digital Marketing Handbook, about how we need to stop blaming the algorithm, talking about the algorithm, moaning about the algorithm. And I'm breaking my silence on mentioning the word algorithm. For the last 10 years, it's not been something I've ever discussed. But I'm doing it in a way that to me still feels very intentional because, yes, there is something strange going on for many of us when it comes to Instagram. Instagram feels, over the last couple of weeks especially, for me at least, that it's massively shifted. I haven't had my usual reach. I haven't felt like people have been seeing my content. All of my metrics have been down. And there's been periods where that's happened before. Like I've been running this business and showing up on Instagram as part of my marketing strategy for 10 years. So this is not a new cycle. But the reason I particularly want to talk about it now, the reason that I'm finally willing to say the word algorithm and have a discussion about this is because when I put on my stories this morning, hey guys, I don't ever talk about the algorithm, but I just want to know, how are we all feeling? Like, is it just me? When I tell you that I have never had such an overwhelming response of people saying, yes, that's true for me, but also so many feelings. My DMs were full of people not just saying, yeah, I'm also struggling with that platform, but also I'm feeling really scared about that. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm feeling worried. It's really getting to me. And so what I want to share in this episode is not let's get annoyed at the algorithm, let's moan about this, let's feel sorry for ourselves. We're humans before we're business owners. So if you're still in that phase, then let yourself feel your feelings, but that's not what we're here for. We are here in this space to think about what we do despite that happening. Because if there's anything I have learned in being in business for 10 years, it's that the one inevitable is change. The business model I had 10 years ago would not survive today. The strategies I used 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago would not be working today. As a business owner, the challenge is not how good is your business strategy. The challenge is how able are you to consistently evolve and shift and tweak your plan, your marketing plan, your business plan, your operational plan based on how the world, the industry, and the conversations that we're in, the platforms that we're using are changing as well. Things in business will change. And I don't want you to see something changing in an algorithm as a reason that your business is going to fail and this really, really scary thing. Now, as I say this, do I also want to admit that this has been a little bit of a sketchy experience for me? Absolutely. I'm currently heading into what is my biggest launch of the year. I'm launching Onnit 2026. It's my core program. It's something that I genuinely am so proud of. It's the best thing I've ever launched, but it only gets one launch. Because it's a year-long program, Onnit gets one chance. And that one chance is coming up. So I'm feeling the pressure from a marketing perspective, and the algorithms, or even whatever it is, I don't even know if it's the algorithm, but things changing, reach being down, feeling disconnected, that is not good timing for me. I'm not going to sit here and lie and say, like, yeah, I've had a super positive attitude this whole time. Like, the reason I broke my silence and put an Instagram story up after 10 years and finally admitted that maybe the algorithm was bothering me a bit is because it has been bothering me. I'm okay to acknowledge that. I'm a human before I'm a business owner. It's a platform I use a lot, and it changing and not feeling like it's giving me what it normally does has felt a little bit scary. And if you're feeling similar, or maybe you're feeling this way about something completely different that's changed in your business, I want to walk you through 4 things, 4 tips, 4 strategies, 4 kind of steps that I've been following over the last few weeks, but also over the last 10 years of running a business. This is what it takes every single time something changes and you've got to evolve. These are the 4 things to follow. And I really hope you can take from this episode something practical, something that you can move forwards into your business. Because the reason that I have never before engaged in moaning about the algorithm and just moaning about things that are outside of our control is because, quite frankly, it's out of our control. And so moaning about it is only making us feel worse. There's something brilliant about action, not just because action creates change, but it gets things moving, doesn't it? It like brings things to a place where they're feeling more fresh. And so the worst thing that you can do when something like this has happened is kind of allow yourself to wallow. I really love the phrase of feel your feelings, but don't feed them. So you've got to feel your feelings. You've got to feel a bit stressed, a bit annoyed, a bit bothered, a bit offended, whatever the feelings might be. But then we've got to think, right, and what next? So this episode is the what next. These are the 4 things that I think are really important and valuable and relevant to keep in mind and do when you are going through a space like this. And as I've said already, this is not new, right? Everything in business is always changing. Your ability to evolve and adapt is what makes you a good business owner. Expect change. Don't see this as a big red flag or a sign that your business isn't going to work or a sign that you don't know what you're doing anymore. Just see this as like, okay, this is the next evolution for me. This is the next thing that I need to be adapting to and thinking about. And so with that in mind, this is our opportunity to step up as business owners. I believe that every single person, whether you run a small business, you have a big team, if you're a freelancer, if you're a limited company, you are a business owner. My whole job exists to help people be better business owners. And when I say business owner, what I mean is that role where we step into a place of leadership, when we step out of employee mode and into CEO mode, and we go, do you know what? No, I'm taking control here. I've got this. Moaning, being upset, being stressed, feeling your feelings, that's kind of us in that like employee mode, right? We're thinking about what's happening to us. What we can then do though, once we felt our feelings, is step into CEO mode, on the business mode, and go, right, not what is happening to me, but what can I do about it? What am I in control of? So I want to share my first encouragement with you, and some of these will be more kind of things to be reminded of rather than practical steps. The first thing I want to share is that when something like this happens, the worst thing that you can do is to follow your emotions. Now, sometimes our emotions hold really valuable information and we need to listen to them, and there's a bit of gut feeling there. But in something like this, we have got to follow the plan and not the feeling. That is one of my most used phrases inside my own head when I'm feeling a certain way. Maybe I'm feeling scared, feeling embarrassed, feeling a bit let down, feeling a bit, I don't want to do this thing for whatever reason. I have got to hear that, but not act on that, and instead follow the plan. It's the idea of action over emotion, where sure, there are some scenarios where we need to listen to our feelings and our emotions, and I'm not denying that. But when we are struggling with something like the algorithm changing, and we have this feeling of like, nobody cares about what I have to say, my content's rubbish, no one wants to hear from me, like those phrases, those beliefs, what are they going to do to your action, right? If you're telling yourself, no one cares, I can't do this, it's not going to work, you're therefore going to stop showing up. Or even if you are showing up, you're not going to bring as much to it. You're not going to push yourself. You're not going to experiment. You're not going to try. And one of the worst things that you can do is decide that a plan has failed before you've given it the consistency it needs to succeed. Let me say that again. If you decide a plan has failed before you've given it the consistency it needs to succeed, you have unsuccessfully tested that plan, and instead you followed the feeling. Right, where I am in my On It launch, I could easily go, well, based on, my Instagram reach being down and my audience not really seeing what I'm putting out there on Instagram, I should give up. The launch isn't going to work. All the data and the feelings so far are telling me that this isn't good, so therefore launch failed, didn't work. I can't call it at this stage. I'm 30 meters into a 100-meter race. You can't call it till you've followed through on the plan. So in a time like this, try not to let the feelings dictate the action. Follow the plan, not the feelings. And if you hear that and think, oh, I don't know what the plan is, well, here's your invitation to have more of a plan. I don't believe in everyone needing to have, months of content planned and batched in advance. I don't believe in super rigid, detailed plans that, box you in. But I do believe that as business owners, we need a sense of direction. We need a sense of structure, whether that be with our marketing and what we're posting, or whether that be with our goals and the way that we want to grow. This advice isn't just relevant to when a social media algorithm changes. It's true to any part of your business. If your sales aren't where you want them to be, if you're feeling like you're not getting the right opportunities, well, you've got to bring yourself back to your plan and go, right, I need to keep going with that plan. The A/B method, which I talked about in this week's earlier episode, that is part of what having a plan looks like. Having vision, having goals, working on your business so that you know the plan, and therefore when the feelings come up, you can follow the plan, not the feelings. It's so much easier to push through your feelings, to keep taking action despite them when there is a plan already set out to follow. So let's make this specific to Instagram. If you're feeling a bit freaked, and you're like, oh, things aren't reaching people, let me just tell you, just make a plan. Make a content plan for the next couple of weeks, follow through on it, and challenge yourself to kind of bring a fresh energy and excitement to that. So that's my first thought for you. Follow the plan, not the feeling. Action over emotion. The second thing I want to share with you is a real practical one, which I'm sure you'll have heard before, you'll have thought about, especially with what's going on Instagram. But let this be your reminder that a diverse strategy is a sustainable one. I am so grateful in times like this that I have an email list, I have this podcast, I have my YouTube channel, I have LinkedIn, and outside of that, I have a great network, I have clients, I have community. When you have diversity within your strategy, within your marketing strategy especially, things like this, they still rock the boat, but they don't tip it over. Now, I know that you've probably heard this before. I know it's probably been on your radar for ages to put more effort into other platforms and other things. And I know that that's never probably top of your priority list because it doesn't feel urgent. But when I talk about the idea that working on your business is key for growth, this is an example of that. When you don't work on your business, when you don't do the tasks that are important but not urgent, at some point you will feel the negatives of that. Right? Not building an email list or not putting the effort into the other parts of your marketing strategy. You might not have noticed the effects of that 6 months ago. You might not have felt the impact of not working on your business and prioritizing those tasks then, but you're feeling it now. That's the delay that happens with the on the business tasks, right? It doesn't help your business run today. It doesn't feel urgent or important today, but it keeps your business growing. It keeps your business stable in the future. The whole concept of On It, my program and the work that I do, is that people often know what they want to do, but making the time, making the plan to do it is a whole nother game. So many of the goals that people set in the On It program is around I want to build this strategy with my email marketing, or I want to diversify my marketing over here. It's things that people have always known they've wanted to do, but when they're trying to just make it happen alongside their other work, there's no structure, there's no accountability, it's not getting done. So let this be just another reminder perhaps of when you're not doing those things that are important but not urgent, there is a point where it starts to feel urgent that that's not done. And it's never too late. I'm not scaring anyone here that if, you've currently had a singular strategy and this is your first invitation to diversify, then great, you've realized that. I'm assuming most of you listening will have a diverse strategy, but maybe this is an invitation to think about how you can continue to spread your efforts. I have a really diverse marketing strategy and I've still been a bit freaked that Instagram has gone down because it is a key part of my marketing strategy. But the main thing being that if Instagram went down, I would still have an audience. I can still reach my people. I can still sell. I can still connect. So maybe for you, a focus for 2026, maybe one of your yearly intentions, one of your quarterly goals, which if you join Onnit, I hope you set them and achieve them, would be around diversifying your marketing strategy. Maybe this is your invitation to make that a bigger priority, even if it doesn't always feel urgent. I feel like this algorithm change kind of reminds us all that actually it is really important. So that's my second reminder for you, to diversify your strategy and to make time for the on the business goals, the on the business tasks that don't feel urgent, but are absolutely important in the long run. And speaking of those kind of on the business tasks, the third thought I want to give you here is that it's all easier when we have habits around tracking and reflection. When you are looking at the data, something like this is A, easier to spot when it's coming, feels less of a shock, you've got more time to plan, and B, it gives you the data which ultimately is then knowledge and information to know how you might want to respond to that. In terms of data, what I'm never talking about here is filling out really intricate spreadsheets and having beautiful graphs that populate every month. I don't have a lot of that in my business. In Onnit, that's not really something I encourage people to do. When I talk about data and reflection, what I talk about in terms of value is not like writing the numbers down, but actually learning from them, questioning them, reflecting on them. So many of us take action, but we never get the clarity from that action because we never reflect and look at the data. So from a marketing perspective, something like this, an algorithm change, is a lot easier to navigate when A, you've been able to kind of see that on the way, and B, you're able to look at the data to help you work out what to do instead, right? If you're thinking about your Instagram strategy, and let me be clear, I don't think this algorithm change is the end of Instagram in any way. This might sound extreme because it's like, oh my gosh, this is the first algorithm change that's convinced me to talk about this. Quite frankly, I think this is just another one of those moments, those shifts, and it happens all the time. I feel like 8 years ago people were saying Instagram's dying, and 8 years on it's not dead yet. So I don't think this is the end of Instagram at all. So what we need to think about is looking at the data of our content, of what we're posting, so that we can learn and improve. Any algorithm change is an invitation for you to just get better. It's basically just saying, hey, you need to work a bit harder, be more creative, learn, try something different. Now, I don't find that irritating. I actually think we can be a little bit, how do I say this without offending anyone? I think we can be a bit entitled with what we are owed. I work with Meta, right? I am a partner of theirs. I work with them to better understand what they do and connect the dots between their platforms and small business owners. I love Meta. I find this algorithm update a bit bemusing and a bit confusing, but at the end of the day, I use their platforms for free to make money, to build a business. They don't owe me anything. Technically, I'm not a customer of theirs if I'm just using the platform in a free, organic way. And I don't say that with any malice. I say that as like how amazing that I had that opportunity. So with that in mind, instead of us being annoyed at these platforms for changing, what if we just went, okay, here's another opportunity for me to learn something new, to try and do something differently. And that's where data tracking will help. Over the coming weeks and months, your invitation is not to shy away from the platform, but to lean in, to get creative, to try new things, because maybe what's been working for you for the last period of time isn't going to work in this new period. Figure it out. Look at what other people are doing. Get experimental. Data always holds lessons, but only if you're looking at it. So look at that data. And that's true for your other platforms as well, right? When you're looking to diversify, you're going to find that easier when you're starting to understand the data. It's simple things, asking your clients and your customers where they found you, tracking where the traffic comes from to your website, looking at how all the pieces of your marketing puzzle are fitting together. I know the role that plays. Oh, damn it, guys, I made it so far in this episode without making a single mistake. This has been a one-take wonder up until this point. 19 minutes in, I'm very impressed by that. I'm just going to keep rolling. I don't have the time to edit this down. I know the role that Instagram plays in my marketing strategy. And so when the algorithm shifts, when I get a bit worried that Instagram's not going to play that role anymore, yes, it's still something I need to think about and change, but ultimately I have clarity. I'm not going, oh my gosh, I don't even know what Instagram's doing for me. But I'm going, okay, I know that for me, Instagram is a really big tool for visibility and getting people through to my email list. So then it's just an opportunity to go, okay, because I know that data, what other platforms show me that they're able to give me that? Data holds so much information, but we're just not always learning from it. So that's the third thought I want to give you. And then the fourth and final thought I want to share with you is that an opportunity sits here to learn to trust yourself as a business owner even better. If I have seen any constant in the last 10 years of business, it's that you can't trust your business, you can't trust a platform, you can't trust your audience, you can't trust the industry you're in. The only thing that you can trust is you as a business owner. I don't trust my business. My business is incredibly established and successful, and I'm really proud of it, but I don't trust it. I don't trust my business. Like, my business is always evolving, always changing, always having to adapt. I trust myself. I trust myself to be able to figure it out. I don't know right now what this algorithm shift is going to mean for me and my business. Maybe this is a blip, and in a week I'm going to look back at this episode and be like, well, that was dramatic. Or maybe it won't be. I don't know. But there's no point in me trying to trust a platform that's always changing, or trying to trust my business, which ultimately is a, made up thing that is a reflection of me. There's no point trying to trust my industry or my audience, because they're always changing and that's out of my control. Instead, what I learned to do is trust myself and trust that I'll figure it out. I'll test, I'll experiment, and I will step as a second error. And I'll step up as a business owner in order to figure it out. I don't trust that everything is going to be easy. I trust that I have the skill set, the mindset, the principles, the bounce back rate to navigate the tricky stuff. In Onnit, one of the biggest principles we believe in is that you know your business best. And that is not an arrogant phrase. That's not you saying that you know everything, but it's this gentle, inner, quiet, but powerful self-trust where you go, I've got this. I trust myself. And whenever these blips, these challenges, these invitations to change the plan come up, absolutely, we can feel our feelings and be a bit annoyed, but ultimately, all we do in that experience when we get to the other side of it is just prove to ourselves again that we can trust ourselves. We've got this. It's going to be okay. So let me offer that invitation to you as well, to see this, yes, as a bit annoying and not ideal and frustrating, but hey, an opportunity to show you where there's some gaps in your strategy, to illuminate where it might be that you are missing some action, to nudge you to keep prioritizing the on the business stuff, because this is an example of what can happen if we're not on it with that kind of growth action. And finally, just to better build your trust with yourself, your grit as a business owner, and to build that muscle where we follow the plan, not the feeling. I hope that in me sharing that I found this a bit difficult and a bit stressful and a bit, oh, okay, you're comforted. Because I think one of the worst things we can do is think that we're the only one feeling that way. And oh my gosh, no one else is wobbled by this. The fact that I'm wobbled by this says that I'm rubbish and I can't do this and it's going to make me, drown. And again, let's just keep that analogy of like, this is allowed to rock the boat, but we have control over whether it tips the boat over. I really hope this episode has been valuable to you. It has been a genuine, just kind of mental download of what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling. And when I looked at all those messages that I received this morning, this is what I wanted to reply to everyone with. So I figured it might be easier to share it here instead. Do let me know what from this has resonated with you. I can just tell you, I've seen this happen so many times. I've seen people freak out about the algorithm so many times. It's going to be all right. You can trust yourself. You can figure it out. Just think, the tools and platforms that we're using today, some of them didn't exist 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. So yes, things evolve, things change, but also for the better. There'll be new exciting things on the way. And no business strategy, no marketing strategy should last forever. Yes, not ideal that, we got to keep on top of things, but also I think that's what being a business owner is all about. As I've talked about in this episode, so much of navigating this work is stepping into that role of the leader in your business, being the CEO, thinking bigger picture, prioritizing the non-urgent stuff. If that's something that's resonating with you, I'm not even icky to plug this, because it's not a plug, it's a genuine invitation to something that will really help you and your business. Join the waitlist for Onnit. Onnit launches in a few weeks' time. It is the best thing I've ever made. It's like a personal trainer, but for your on the business tasks. I don't teach you things, I don't tell you what to do. I hold space for you to set those goals, to stay accountable to them, to track the action. So if what I've talked about in this episode, you're like, yes, I love these principles, I love these things, but I really struggle to do this for and by myself, that is what Onnit is for. If you know that in 2026 you need to diversify your marketing strategy, look at your marketing data more, stay accountable to these things, Onnit is going to be the best, most accessible and simple tool to help you to do that, whilst also achieving any other business goals that are important to you. I'll leave the link in the show notes wherever you're tuning into this to join the waitlist, and also some great free challenges and masterclasses that I've built to help you get a bit of a taster. But I hope you've enjoyed this very spontaneous episode. This, like I said, is definitely the most spontaneous thing I've ever created here on this podcast. So any feedback is appreciated. Thanks for tuning in, and let's continue the roller coaster that is running a business. Change is the only inevitable thing when you are a business owner. And that's all I've got to say about that. All right. Catch you in the next one.